If you don't know, there is a professional Pokemon player named Wolfie VGC who dropped a prediction thread for Gen 9 on Twitter yesterday, and I thought it would be interesting if we sort of went through and ranked some of his predictions based on how likely they were, just to get the conversation going with Gen 9. I don't know how you guys are feeling about Gen 9, but I'm pretty hyped. We're gonna change these names a little bit. This one's true. This one we'll do 50-50 whether or not they're likely. We'll have a no shot Lamau tier. We'll have a oh god please no tier. You'll see why in a bit. And then S tier, it'll probably, let's do Game Freak please. Okay, first tweet in this thread, Mega Evolution will return. So I don't know about you guys, I thought Mega Evolution was just meh. Like, it was a cool gimmick for Gen 6. I would be very surprised if it made a return. So there's a thread on Twitter, here, let me pull it up. Pokemon Mega Evolution cries were in the game's sound data. And there also looked like there were some data files that stored information on past Pokemon with Megas. So I think there was like some talk in the beginning about whether or not Megas might be a thing in Legends Arceus. It didn't pan out that way, but I think that talk is still there. I think that plus, so the fact that this new Gen 9 game is based in Spain, right, is right next to France, where Kalos was originally formed. So I think there's been talk that maybe because the regions are so close to each other geographically in real life, there might be some bleed over between Megas in the new game. I personally am not a huge fan of that idea. Game Freak's thought process is like, we'll bring in a new generation, a new gimmick every generation. I really would be surprised if they brought Megas back in. And for that reasoning, I'm gonna have to put this in a no shot Lamau tier. Now, number 2, Arbok will receive a regional variant. Okay, now this is interesting because Seviper was in the trailer. I feel like this is more of a wish list thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if Game Freak added some more regional variants to the new Pokemon. I think this is something that they want to do because it's easier to bank off a regional variant for an existing Pokemon than it is to make up a whole new Pokemon that people may or may not like. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of Hisuian forms. I think that's why we've seen a lot of why Mega Evolutions popped off so well. Alolan forms. I think this is a trend that Game Freak is going to keep on doing. So I'm going to put this in a 50-50. I don't know if it's Arbok that will receive a regional form. That would be super sick. But I think regardless, we can expect regional forms in the future. Next prediction that we're going to go through, Eevee will receive fighting and ghost type evolutions. So this is interesting. I think Eevee has been waiting for a new regional form. I think this might be the game that we get a new regional form for Eevee. Whether or not it's fighting, or what is it, fighting and ghost is the question. That would be super sick. You know, Wolfie comes from a competitive background, so I think he's really hoping for like some of those typings. I know like fighting and ghost tend to be pretty good offensively. Ghost has been pretty broken in the last couple gens. Regardless, I am definitely thinking we're gonna get a new Eevee form. So I'm putting this in the true tier, because I think the last new Eevee form has been what, Sylveon? So fingers crossed, we'll see. There will be a new Rotom gadget that aids the player character. I know that people did not like the Rotom Pokédex. It was not a fan favorite. People did not love some of the new like Rotom additions to the games. However, I think there's a non-zero chance, right? Like this could definitely happen. We're hoping not, because I think like generally the consensus is like these Rotom forms didn't really add much. I think that this is a pretty likely take, but I'm gonna put this in oh god please no, because I don't think anyone really wants that. Some Pokemon that have been very bad will receive some love. Personal predictions are some of Dunsparce, Ladian, Dodrio, and Luvdisc. Now this is an interesting idea. I think that Pokemon has a habit of taking older Pokemon and recycling them somehow. We saw this with the Hisuian forms for, you know, Cleavor, for Basculegion, like reviving weirdly forgotten Pokemon. I think that was really interesting. Stantler. But at the same time, I've been thinking about this. Game Freak also likes to pump up the most important characters. We saw this with like Charizard getting 2 Mega Evolutions. We saw this with, you know, the original 3 Kanto starters getting Mega So at the same time, I could see how Pokemon that already get a lot of attention could be getting more attention in form of Hisuian forms like we are, or these Gen 9 regional forms. But I think I agree with this. I think we are going to see some like regional forms for Pokemon that we haven't thought about much in the past. I think the Seviper in the Gen 9 video was a solid surprise. That I am hoping for a Dunsparce Evo. I think it's high tide that Dunsparce has gotten the respect he deserves. Stantler came through, so Game Freak hasn't forgotten about Gen 2 entirely. I think that we're going to see some surprising new forms. Love Disc would be sick, I gotta say. Love Disc has been like memeified in how bad it's been. All right, moving on. Gen 9 will be the best generation ever for competitive Pokemon. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite things when I was like back in the Gen 4, Gen 5 days, I think, is when I really started learning about competitive Pokemon. I started getting on like Pokemon Showdown. I would play random battles. I even got into like NU, team building, all that stuff. They've slowly made progress over time with how much they support it, right? Like we saw like ability capsules, like even Destiny Nuts going back to Gen 5. They're slowly making it easier and easier to make new competitively viable Pokemon. We're just going to continue in that direction. I'm going to see more ways to make your Pokemon more competitively viable, and I think he's right on with this one. Cool. Okay, so I think this is very much true. Gen 9 will probably be the best generation for competitive Pokemon. Ease of getting competitive Pokemon will be the best ever. Yeah, so in the same vein, I think this is something we can expect. I think like now is the time to learn how to play competitive Pokemon if that's something you're interested in, because I strongly believe when the new game gets released, that's going to be like one of the best things about the new game. I'm hoping. I know Wolfie, again, he comes from the competitive scene, so that's sort of what he's hoping for, but I do think that Game Freak is slowly more and more made the competitive scene more viable. Like they made breeding a lot easier, IVs. I think that there's a lot to come in that respect. All right, this is Wolfie's most interesting take here. Sudowoodo will get a regional variant. I think this is more of a hope on his end than anything else. I'm not sure why the obsession with Sudowoodo. I think this is more of a Wolfie thing. I would be very surprised if we saw Sudowoodo specifically. He seems to be leaning more towards Gen 2 Mons. I don't know if we've seen a ton of like Gen 2 love recently, but I'm just gonna say no shot. I'd be very surprised if we got like a Sudowoodo regional form. And then finally, the Gen 4 starters will receive Mega Evolutions. Now this is a spicy take. So this actually, if we're to assume that Mega Evolutions are coming back, which I, again, don't think is going to be the case. If we did get Mega Evolutions though, I think for sure Gen 4 starters would get Megas for sure. They have to. But I'm going to put this in a no shot tier just because I don't think this is going to really be the case. I would be very surprised, but we'll see. So yeah, this is sort of, I mostly wanted to do this just to get the ball rolling on Gen 9 discussion. I think this is interesting stuff to think about. So those are my thoughts on Wolfie's Gen 9 predictions. Let me know what you guys think. Always love the Gen 9 discussion, and I think as we get more information, it'll be a lot more interesting stuff to talk about.